Have you ever noticed how one thought can quietly take over an entire part of your day? Not because something major is happening, but because your mind keeps returning to something behind you, something you said, something someone else said, a moment you wish had gone differently, or even something that has not happened yet, but your mind keeps trying to prepare for it. That is one of the hardest things about rumination. It does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it slips in quietly, and before you realize it, you are replaying something for the 10th time, searching for relief that never fully comes. Welcome back to Blooming After Darkness. And if this is the first time you're here, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you clicking play. And if you're back again, thank you. It truly means a lot. This space is for honest conversations about mental health, emotional healing, anxiety, boundaries, self-awareness, and learning how to come back to yourself. And usually a little bit of everything in between. Before we begin, if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that bell, because every week we talk about the emotional patterns so many silently carry and the tools that can help make life feel lighter. Today we're talking about rumination, because this is one of the most exhausting mental habits and one of the easiest patterns to fall into without even realizing how much energy it steals. Rumination is when the mind keeps returning to the same thought again and again, often without creating peace. It can be a conversation, a decision, a fear, a mistake, a memory, something awkward, something painful, something uncertain, something unresolved, or simply a thought that your brain has decided needs repeated attention. And what makes rumination so difficult is that while it's happening, it often feels important. It feels like maybe if you think hard enough, long enough, carefully enough, you will finally understand something in a way that brings relief and figure it out. But most of the time, what actually happens is quite the opposite. You become mentally tired while emotionally staying in the same place. A small moment can become an entire evening of internal replay. One sentence can become hours of mental review. One facial expression can become a whole story inside your mind. That is because rumination rarely replays only facts. It usually adds interpretations, prediction, fear, and emotional meaning every time the thought returns. Maybe someone answered your message differently than usual, and suddenly your mind starts wondering if something's wrong. Maybe you remember something you said earlier and begin questioning whether you sounded too emotional, too quiet, too much, too distant, too direct, too awkward, or just misunderstood. Maybe you notice someone's tone changed, and now your mind begins trying to decode every detail. And even though nothing new is happening internally, it feels active because the nervous system keeps reopening it. One thing many people notice is that rumination often gets louder when life gets quieter. During the day, there are distractions, responsibilities, conversations, tasks, movement, and noise. But at night, when everything slows down, thoughts often rise. Something from earlier returns, something unfinished returns, something old returns, and suddenly your mind is giving energy to something that did not feel urgent a few hours earlier. I want to share a quick story. One night, I remember lying down, fully exhausted, ready to sleep, and one small interaction from earlier came back into my mind. It was nothing dramatic, just an ordinary exchange, something simple, but once my head hit the pillow, my brain reopened it completely. I replayed exactly what I said, then I replayed what they said, then I replayed their tone. Then I wondered if maybe I had sounded different than I intended. Then I imagined how they might have interpreted it later. Then I started thinking about whether I should have said less, more, or differently. And the strange thing about rumination is that the moment itself had already ended hours earlier, but mentally it felt current because my nervous system had attached importance to it. That is what rumination often does. It takes something finished and keeps treating it as unfinished. It keeps telling the brain there is still something to solve here, but many times there is nothing left to solve. Sometimes there is only discomfort that has not settled because the brain dislikes uncertainty. It keeps circling as if another round of thinking will create certainty. The brain loves certainty because certainty feels safe, but life does not always offer certainty. So the mind often substitutes repetition. Repetition feels like effort, and effort can feel like control. But repeated thinking is not always control. Sometimes it is just emotional spinning. Why does this happen? Neurologically, your brain is designed to look for patterns and predict danger. Overthinking can feel addictive because your brain treats uncertainty as a threat. So every time you replay a scenario in your mind, your nervous system gets a jolt of alertness. The loop becomes familiar, even comforting in a strange way, because the brain thinks it is keeping you safe. But the irony is that repeated thought often creates emotional tension rather than safety. One phrase that helps interrupt this is simple. This thought has returned again. Not, why am I doing this? Not, why can't I stop? Not, what is wrong with me? Just, this thought has returned again. Saying that creates space. You move from being absorbed in the thought to observing it. Say it quietly now. This thought has returned again. Then take one slow breath in, hold it, and exhale slowly. Again, breathe in and exhale slowly. That pause changes your relationship with the thought, because now your body is involved, not just your racing mind. Another thing that matters is understanding that reflection and rumination are not the same. Reflection helps you learn and move forward. Reflection asks, what can I understand here? Rumination circles the same ground without movement. Reflection softens over time. Rumination often tightens over time. Reflection creates perspective. Rumination narrows perspective until one thought feels bigger than everything else around you. Another reason rumination becomes strong is because many people do it most when emotionally tired. Stress, disappointment, loneliness, anxiety, mental overload, hormonal changes, emotional pain, poor sleep, all of it can make repetitive thinking stronger because the brain is searching harder for safety. But safety cannot always be created through endless replay. Sometimes the brain is asking for reassurance, rest, grounding, or emotional acknowledgement. That is why one powerful question is, what feeling is underneath this thought? Often the thought is only the surface. Underneath it may be fear, sadness, regret, shame, uncertainty, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of making mistakes, fear of not being enough. If the feeling underneath is fear, acknowledge fear is here. If it is sadness, acknowledge sadness is here. If it is regret, acknowledge regret is here. Naming what is underneath softens what fighting cannot, because the many thoughts are not asking to be fought. They are asking to be understood without judgment. Now, let's do a short guided exercise to interrupt rumination. Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow breath in for 4 counts. Hold it for 4 counts. Exhale for 6. Do that maybe 2 more times. And then notice your shoulders. Let them drop. Okay? Let your jaw relax. Your hands, let them rest. Now notice 5 things you can see around you. Could be your coffee mug that you made this morning. It could be your kids in the background. It could be your table, anything that you see. Now notice 4 things you can feel. Your blankets, the chair beneath you, anything that you currently feel. Then notice 3 sounds. You guys might be able to hear my dog because she won't stop barking. And then 2 smells, which those can be a little bit difficult depending on where you are, and 1 thing you taste. Now, if you don't have anything around you that you can currently taste, go grab like a piece of candy or something, some mint, something to bring you back into the present. But let this grounding sequence remind you that this moment is safe and that your mind is allowed to pause. Writing also helps. Write the exact thought as it appears, no editing. Then ask, does this need action or does this need release? Many thoughts need release, not solving. Letting go does not mean pretending you do not care. It means recognizing when your mind has already visited something enough today. A peaceful mind is not a mind without thoughts. It is a mind that knows which thoughts to act on, reflect on, set boundaries around, or let go. Some thoughts deserve action, some reflection, some boundaries, some no further attention tonight. If your mind has been loud lately, remember, you are not broken. Your brain may be using an old strategy to search for safety. Old strategies can change slowly, gently, repeatedly. Healing is not never overthinking. Healing is noticing overthinking sooner, breathing before spiraling, and choosing differently. Before we close, take a final slow breath in. Hold it. Exhale slowly. Let your shoulders relax. and your jaw loosen. Let your hands rest and remind yourself you do not need to solve everything tonight. Peace often arrives when thought loosens its grip. Listen, if this video helped even just a little bit, please make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss an episode of Blooming After Darkness. And if someone you know silently carries too much in their mind, please share this with them. It may help. Remember, not every thought deserves another hour of your peace. Not every fear deserves your full attention, and not every loop deserves to stay open. You are allowed to pause, you are allowed to breathe, and you are allowed to return to yourself again and again. And just before I forget, there are going to be resources linked in the description below. They are there if you ever need to utilize them. I do create a bunch of ebooks for depression, anxiety, self-love, journaling prompts. I'm actually going to be doing an ADHD one today, so that will be released as well today. Much love to you and enjoy the rest of your day. Keep going, keep shining, and I will see you in the next video.